Hi Tahsan, my name is Ellen. I'll be correcting these essays for you. Let's take a look straight away at what you wrote. It's very helpful if you can include in your answer the task. So for your task one, it's helpful to have the image. Just copy it and paste it in your file, and then also include the language from the task two, because it's helpful. I like to refer to it. So keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look at this. The bar chart, not bar graph, it's a bar chart, published by WHO, illustrates the global bird flu casualties between 1990 and 2000 with 1 year in 1 year intervals. The vertical axis provides information on number of casualties ranging from 100,000 to 20,000, 200,000. Overall, the cases of flu remained the same in 1990 and 1991. Then the number had a rise in 1992, and again the cases were the same between 92 and 93. From 94 to 96, the graph has a gradual increase, and between 97 and 2000, the cases per year were the same. All right. So I want to change a few things here. First of all, let's see. Let's start with this. This was fine. In fact, I would have even reduced it. I would have stopped right here at 2000. So it should have just read the bar chart. Let me simplify it. The bar chart illustrates the global bird flu casualties between 1990 and 2000. Full stop. That's it. That's your introduction. The rest of this information is not necessary. Not at this point in your answer. You really don't need it. So definitely leave it out. Okay? That's the first thing. Then, this I also would have left out. You're not describing the information to the extent where you're saying this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. You don't need to do any of that. So I would have completely omitted this sentence. So essentially, my first sentence would have just been this, okay? And then I would have gone on to the overview. So I want to talk to you about this overview. This really isn't an overview because there's just so much detail. The overview talks about the main thing you see, the main trend, or maybe it talks about like the highest figure, the thing that really sticks out. And the thing that really sticks out in this chart about bird flu casualties is that over the period, there was a steady increase. Full stop. That's it. All right. Anything else ceases to be an overview, and then it reads more like a detail paragraph. And if you do that, then it's going to really lower your task achievement score, because without an overview, you can't get a band 6 for task achievement. Okay? So keep that in mind. This needs to be really kind of condensed into just a sentence where you're saying overall the number of bird casualties increased throughout the period. All right, let's see what you wrote in the next paragraph. In 1990 and 1991, total casualties were slightly over 120,000. Another 130,000 people got infected by 93. In 1994, the total cases were 140. After the number of casualties increased, after that, the number of casualties increased 10,000 in both 95 and 96. In 97, around 175 were infected, 50,000 more than 90s? What does that mean? 1990. Do you mean then 1990 here? If that's the case, then get rid of the apostrophe S. From 97 to 2000, the rate of casualties was 175,000 per year. Okay, it's okay for the most part, but what this feels like is it feels, to use an examiner word, it feels mechanical. So there's not really much analysis here. It's just, this is the number 1990, this is the number 1991, this is the number 1992, this is the number 1993. And that feels mechanical. So there's no analysis, there's no comparison. There's no sort of like critical thought about the data you're looking at. Now, when I say critical thought, I don't mean that I want you to refer to things outside of the chart. So we don't want you to tell us why there was an increase in 1994. Okay, we don't want to know that kind of thing. But you do need to do a little more critical work with the data that you have. So let's see. Another 130,000 got infected. Yeah, so you're just going like year by year, you're saying 120, then 130, and then 140. So do something else with it. You can say something like, in the following year, an additional 130 were infected. Or you could have said, in the 2 years that followed, numbers increased by 10,000 per year. All right, so even that shows a little more critical thinking and more like you're doing something with the numbers rather than just telling them, well, in 1990 it was this, 1991 it was this, 1992 it was this. Okay, so that's what you need to be doing here. In conclusion, the global bird flu cases were 120,000 in 1990, which increased significantly per year, and after a decade, they, not it, because it's cases, reached 175,000. All right. And that's a little repetitive. I'm wondering if you could have done something else with that. Maybe you could have said something like, overall, the cases of bird flu increased by roughly 50%. You might be wondering why I got that number 50%. Well, because half of 120,000 is 60. So, it's almost an extra 60,000, so 50% increase. You could have said something like that if you needed a conclusion. Now, IELTS task ones don't need a conclusion, but I do think that some of them kind of lend themselves to a conclusion. So if you did that and you wanted a nice conclusion, again, this would have been a good thing to do because it's looking at the same data, but just kind of rephrasing it, looking at it from a different perspective, and I think that would have been a nice thing to do. All right, let's take a look at your task 2 about people staying in the same job. Let's see what you wrote. There is an argument whether employees should do the same job for the rest of their lives or they should change jobs at least once during their career. I agree with the latter one, as working in different places can provide with more opportunities and facilities. In addition, they can gain experience by switching their job. All right, so this is good in terms of how you organize your introduction, but it does need some work with grammar, with lexical resources. So, argument and whether need to be spelled correctly. This is the incorrect spelling. There is an argument whether employees should do the same job for the rest of their lives or if they should change jobs at least once during their career. And then I didn't really like the latter one. Maybe you could have said, I agree with the latter view, as working in different places can provide more opportunities. That doesn't really make sense. It can provide facilities. That doesn't really make sense. So let's just leave it out. Working in different places can provide more opportunities. In addition, employees, because you didn't tell us who they are. In addition, employees can gain experience by switching jobs without their. All right, so just switching a few things around, and then the rest of it is fine. All right, let's move on. If workers stick with one job, there is no possibility of having more advantages in their work fields. All right, I don't know what you mean about advantages. By searching for jobs, employees can find more facilities and opportunities compared to their current jobs. There can be an increase in salary, vacations, insurance, this is the wrong spelling, and so on. More opportunities lead people to love their jobs. Employees can also get promotions. For example, according to a study, almost all employees who switch jobs, get rid of the can, enjoy extra advantages in their workplaces. Okay. So this is good. There are again still a few things that I want to fix and I want to look at here. You keep saying facilities, although I don't understand what you mean by that. It's not really clear, and I feel like you're misusing this word, so I would have changed that. By searching for, and now here's my other question. Is it the searching for jobs that gives people these opportunities, or is it switching jobs that gives them more opportunities? So be careful with this language here. You want it to be accurate. So by switching jobs, employees can find more, maybe you mean benefits and opportunities compared to their current jobs. Okay? Let's see. There can be an increase in salary, vacations, and insurance. Now, another thing, we don't really use and so on. You want to avoid things like etc. and so on, because if it's important enough to include it as a so on or as an etc., then you should name it by name and not just write it like this. So I would not use this. If you want to say that the list you are giving us is not exhaustive and that there are more things that are in this list, you could say there can be increases in benefits such as salary, vacations, and insurance. So when you say such as, or when you say including salary, vacations, and insurance, then it shows that there's more, but it doesn't have this kind of feel the way so on does. Okay. Now, these two sentences for me feel a little choppy. More opportunities lead people to love their jobs. Employees can also get promotions. This feels really very choppy, like it doesn't fit with the rest of the paragraph and they don't fit with each other. And then here, almost all employees who switch jobs enjoy extra advantages in their workplace. So a lot of this really also feels rather redundant, because what are you essentially telling us? If they stick to one job, they won't have other advantages. The people who do find more opportunities. They can have these things increased. They can also get a promotion. And then you wrote, for example, everybody gets extra advantages. So some of this felt really redundant to me, like a little repetitious. So let's see. I want to fix this part of the paragraph, okay? Let me just kind of read it aloud again and kind of think through it. There can be an increase in salary, vacations, and insurance. Why don't we do this? The result of these extra benefits is that people love their jobs. But let me ask you a question about that. How does people loving their jobs, how does that relate to this switching and why switching is better compared to staying in one job? So you have to ask yourself if this is really relevant, if it's adding anything valuable to this paragraph. I'm not so sure that it does. Okay, so for a moment, let's take this sentence out. Okay, let's pretend it's not there. And then you said there can be an increase in areas such as salaries, vacation, and insurance. Another benefit of switching jobs is that, not that they can get promotions, but another benefit is that employees can get hired into higher positions. Okay, because that's really what a promotion is about. It's getting a higher position, a position often with more money, more responsibility. Okay, so I'm not really convinced this sentence is so appropriate here, because then you talk about these extra advantages. I kind of feel like this belongs up here. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got this sentence here about this, for example, but the logical organization doesn't really work. This actually belongs up here. Okay, so what I'm finding is that there's not really logical progression in your ideas. Some of it felt a little redundant. So just to kind of reiterate, I would have written this sentence the way I already talked about. Then I would have put this sentence here. And then I would have changed this around slightly to say such as or including. And I would have changed these two sentences. Okay? I wouldn't have written this one at all, but I would have changed this one, that employees can get hired into higher positions because you get promoted usually within the same company, not when you switch jobs. So that's why this doesn't really work. I hope this is making sense because I know I'm kind of talking about a lot of different things, a lot of different, um, like the organization of your sentences and whether the words you're using are accurate and whether, this all really fits in with the task achievement. So it's a lot to kind of take in. I hope it's all clear. Let's take a look at the next paragraph. Employees can get experience working in more than one place. Each time they have to cope with their peers and working environment as well. As a result, they develop, no E, many skills such as communication. Get rid of skill here. You just said a skill, such as communication and leadership, which will help them to create a business of their own or work in a lucrative company. Facing difficult situations, S, while doing jobs also helps, S, them tackle their obstacles. How? What do you mean? Thus, employees who change their jobs are likely to be more successful than others. For example, many employees working in giant companies like Apple and Google in high positions to different types of jobs before entering the companies. All right, so I think this paragraph was good in general. It felt more cohesive. So it was fine. There was one thing that I wanted to switch here. That's this opening sentence here, the topic sentence of your paragraph. You wrote, employees can get experience working in more than one place. I don't really think that this is a topic sentence that expresses the central idea of your essay. And that's what the first sentence in your paragraph should do. It's almost like a mini introduction to the paragraph. So, what I would like to encourage you to do is maybe like look over this paragraph and say, all right, what's the general idea of what I've written in this paragraph? And then you can write a paragraph, a topic sentence that really reflects that. So reading over this paragraph again, I would probably say something like employees who switch jobs gain soft skills as well as further their progression in their career. Okay, so that's essentially what you're saying in this paragraph. And then you talk about all this and then it's appropriate. Okay, so let's take a look at your conclusion. In conclusion, working in different places improves S, skills of employees which they can utilize applying to a better company. They can get more payment facilities. You keep saying facilities. I really don't know what you mean. I think you might mean benefits, but I'm not sure. They can get more, no, not more payment. They can get a higher salary and more benefits, which is not possible working in the same place. Okay, let's take a look one last time. All right, you didn't actually include it here. All right, I'm wondering if it would have been useful if somewhere you had compared switching jobs with staying in the same job. So you did it at the very end. You said that this is not possible working in the same place. I'm wondering if you could have incorporated that elsewhere in your essay, especially in your body paragraphs. I mean, you did it here in the introduction, you did it in the conclusion, but you never talked about staying in the same job anywhere else, even as like a comparison. You know what I mean? So that would have been nice to include since it was a part of the task. All right, so it's a nice set. You've got some things to think about. You've got a lot of feedback to revise. So go ahead and do that, and let's meet back here with your next set of essays. I'm looking forward to it. So good luck to you.